3. I just pressed record. Okay, so all the sessions are being recorded, so please make sure that you're muted unless you're speaking. Type any questions you have into the chat, and then they'll be answered at the end of the presentation in our Q&A section. Our presenter for this session is Miriam, so I am going to let you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Awesome, thanks, Bridget. So yeah, hello, I'm Miriam. Just for a little session, I'm gonna have a couple of like exercises during this, so feel free to like type in the chat, and we can also just talk more at the end. Like use this as an opportunity to just learn from each other, see what everyone's doing, ask questions for how to help each other and our teams keep engaged during this time, which is especially, it's important every year, but this year it's especially important because of course we're not all meeting in person all the time. So yeah, a little bit about me. So I'm Miriam. I'm currently a junior at Yale. I'm majoring in electrical engineering and computer science. And I am an alumnus of FRC Team 930. The picture on the top, it's me with during the Dean's List lunch with Dean Kamen. And then bottom picture is with 930 at Champs 2 years ago. So the last time there was a Champs. And I'm currently the head mentor for FRC Team 7869, the Fun Gang. You can see a picture of us in the top right corner. I am on the very right side, and that is my team. Yeah, and they're a great bunch of kids. I kind of, it was an interesting way how I got to be head mentor. So the team actually started, it's a very new team. It's going to be in its third year now. And it started when I was a first year in college by 2 teachers at the school. But the following year, both teachers unfortunately left the school, so that the team was left without any head mentors. So a friend of mine and I just jumped in as like the head mentors for the team. We helped them, we mentored them, and they got to build a robot last year. We did get to go to one competition last year, which was exciting, and the kids won the Team Spirit Award at the district event. So that was really exciting. They're really happy about that. I was really proud of them. So yeah, and then this year, just for background, my team, the 7869, they are only meeting virtually because, oh, the screen share stopped. That's weird. Oh no. Here, let me try again. Sorry about that. Technology issues. another fun thing about technology. But yeah, everyone can see my screen now, right? Again. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so my team is meeting virtually this year because their school has a lot of like restrictions where no extracurricular activities can meet in person. So yeah, we're just stuck to virtual meetings. We've had a couple of virtual meetings so far, preparing for kickoff. And yeah, at least it's really great that first like headquarters is doing a lot of like competitions or like virtual ways to keep students engaged. So yeah, so this year sub teams might look a little bit different than in the past. In the past, I guess, yeah, like it really differed by sub teams. So like some teams did sub teams by like mechanical electrical programming. Some did sub teams by like different like functions of the robot. So like one sub team focused on like drivetrain, shooter, pickup, something like that. But yeah, this year it might be more of like, oh, one sub team's focusing on like designing the game. One sub team's focused on like the robot design aspect. So like the different like challenges issued by FIRST. So it's a little bit about this year. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little more about like engagement in general, importance of engagement. And yeah, so for the session outline, yeah, I'm going to start off with just like talking about types of engagement and motivation, team culture, and why that's super, super important in everything. We're going to go into a little like goal setting exercise. I'm going to talk briefly about in-person engagement and most extensively on virtual engagement this year because that's yeah, that's probably going to be some teams, a lot of teams. If the situation worsens, which hopefully it doesn't, hopefully it just keeps getting better, but ways to just transition from in-person to virtual engagement and just fun events that can be done virtually this year because it's not going to be easy to get a lot of people in a tiny little room. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the outline. So let's start off with types of engagement and motivation. So it's useful to think of levels of engagement as on like at a spectrum. So from high to low, there's this research done by 2 Stanford professors. They wrote a book called Designing Your Life, and it's a really useful book. It's just like figuring out what you want to do in your career, thinking about ways of going about that. But basically, the way they think of engagement is it's important to like track engagement from high to low and like thinking of engagement as a car dial is like a useful like framework for like, oh, okay, so like So there's a range of engagements, basically. Pretty straightforward, but just useful to think about, useful to keep in mind. And when measuring engagement on behalf of like both the students and mentors, seeing how engaged they are, if they're participating a lot, or if they're like low engagement, they're not really active, don't really come to meetings and such. So yeah, little way to start start thinking about engagement. And then of course we have different types of motivation. So of course you have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is always preferred. We love intrinsic motivation. After all, like first, I love for like what first stands for so much, for inspiration, recognition, of science technology. And that's super important. That inspiration is really key. You want to inspire students, you want to inspire mentors to do this. And that's really key. So we're going to focus all on like intrinsic motivation and how to foster that in this rather like trying time of COVID. But yeah, keeping that in mind is super, super important. So this is kind of like the key of what motivates people. How do you get at that inspiration? And the key thing is to think about purpose and what makes up purpose. So generally purpose has a couple of key components. So one is meaningful work. That's really cool thing that robotics offers, is that you see tangible work being completed. So you work a lot, you learn a lot of things, and you see, wow, like I built this robot, or like as a mentor, like wow, I like helped these students like learn this. They couldn't like build this robot before, but now they could, and like they see that growth, you see that meaning, you see all your hard work coming to fruition. So that's the first key thing to motivating people and to inspiring them. Another key thing is flexibility and autonomy. Sometimes like the cool thing about robotics is that you get to let students and mentors basically choose what they want to do, choose their projects, figure out what they want to work on, basically. Sometimes school isn't so fun for some people just because it's a lot of like, oh, you have to do this, you're forced to do this, you have to do this assignment, you have to take this test. And the cool thing about robotics, I think, is exactly that you're not forcing people to do things. So it's really up to them. It's really up to students, to mentors, especially for mentors, like helping students to explore, to give them that flexibility, to trust them, and hear what they want to do, because that's really important in terms of motivating people. And finally, connection and mentoring. Humans are social creatures at the end of the day, and having like connection is super, super important. We all work on teams. Having that team aspect is way better than just an individual, because you accomplish more together as a team than you do as an individual. And mentoring is really key. That's a thing that I think separates FIRST Robotics from like almost any other program out there, is having that long-term mentorship. Because having that really, really helps students. It helps students grow, it helps mentors grow. And it's really what is kind of like the why we love doing robotics, is having that connection, having that the curiosity to build things, and contributing something meaningful. So yeah, that's kind of like the elements of purpose, and really key things to that are pretty straightforward, but yeah, just things it's important to think about them throughout the season. And because yeah, this is really what's going to drive your team, drive individuals to do work, to succeed, and to be an all-around great robotics team. So yeah, we're gonna start a little like exercise. So this goes to finding your why, finding your purpose. So these are some questions that are good thought questions. You all are welcome to share in the chat. You don't have to though, don't feel pressure. This is very personal. It'd be cool to hear if you guys want to contribute though. If not, no worries. This is just good for you to do on your own if you have a sheet of paper or something to write it down. These are just, yeah, good questions to think about. So first, easy, straightforward question is, why do you come to robotics? Why do you mentor? And for students, why do you love doing robotics? Really pinpointing that down is key. For me personally, I started doing robotics because actually I loved building Legos when I was little. So I was like, oh, Lego League, I'll join first Lego League. This sounds fun. And then I kind of stuck with it because I really was inspired to build things, to see that tangible impact, to see, wow, like I created something. I didn't know I could do this, but I did it. And that's really inspiring. And yeah, I love just like having like, and as a mentor now, same thing. I love mentoring because I love seeing that like light bulb in students when they figure something out or when they complete something. You're like, wow, you did this. The robot just completed a task. And seeing that like aha moment, eureka, is really, really special. And I'm sure that's why a lot of you mentor as well. But yeah, just that's important to think about and to note. Another important question is, when are you in flow? So like, what activities make you forget to eat and drink? And that's important too, because you want to find those activities that get you in flow for students and for mentors. So it could be robotics, maybe some like fun aspects of robotics, because there's always like the tedious aspects too. So maybe not those, but the fun activities, just pinpointing those down and like finding out what those activities are and then just fostering them within the team is important to like really foster that team culture. This is, yeah, another one is why you're excited about where you could be in 10 years. For the students, maybe they want to use robotics as like a stepping stone to learn STEM, to become innovators in the future. And even for mentors, maybe you want to get like career advancement, you want to help your team grow a lot in 10 years. You want to just learn new things. And yeah, just having that like long-term mindset is important. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in terms of like making and setting goals for teams, both like team goals and individual goals. Another question to think about for finding like your purpose is what makes you unique. So maybe you're more interested in like the programming side of the robots or the business side or the mechanical design. So yeah, well, what sets you apart? Why are people drawn to you? And it's just like a good thing, and also just like yeah, helps you as an individual, and then helps you see how you contribute to a team, to a community, etc. And this one's kind of like a bring it into perspective kind of question. If you knew this was your last few weeks here, what would you ensure gets done? So this could be on Earth, kind of more like, whoa, big picture, what do I want to do? Or it could just be like, oh, on your team, like if I wasn't for some reason like on the team anymore, or like for seniors, if once you graduate, what do you want to ensure gets done before that happens? And yeah, so that's just like good to know, because it also just helps set priorities in place for your team, for yourself, and for ultimately finding your purpose. And going into that final question, the biggest way to find your why is, why are you here? What is your calling? What do you want to do? Do you want to help people? Do you want to create innovations? Maybe like create a help like a future vaccine, just like COVID or something like that. Or maybe you want to like help solve like climate change, make the world more environmentally friendly. Stuff like that. But very big picture questions, but just a way to kind of put into perspective why we do robotics, why we do the thing that we love, and just like pinpointing that, because sometimes it's easy to just get caught up in like the nitty gritty parts of robotics without thinking about like, oh, like why do I like doing this? So yeah, it's a little exercise for people. And ultimately, for both students and mentors, why we do this and why we're going to work on like different exercises throughout the presentation is that we want to work together to create personalized, authentic experiences that ignite passion and tap into purpose in order to strengthen individual and team performance. So yeah, and there's a question, thanks Melody, in the chat. If we do the personal exercise with our team as an exercise, it could definitely be a team exercise for sure. Yeah, I think it'd be good for like the beginning of the season. And just yeah, to get everyone thinking about like, oh, why do you like robotics? I actually start off my meetings with my team, especially for like the new members, or even like for the older members too, to just like talk about like why they love robotics. So when we do like little introductions and stuff, like you go around and like, oh, say why your name and everything for new members and such, and why you're interested in robotics, why are you here? And everyone does say that. It doesn't have to be like super in depth. Oh, you can make it super in depth if you want and you have time, but if you're a little bit like cut like on time or don't have like that much time in a meeting, it might just help to just go around and just like do just one question of those is, why are you here at robotics? Why do you love STEM? And yeah, it's definitely a good exercise for everyone to get thinking to everyone and to hear everyone else's answers, like, oh wow, like that's super cool that so and so is like interested in this aspect that I didn't think about. I'm interested in like a different aspect. So definitely do it with your team, either the full version or the condensed version of just asking why you like robotics or why you're doing robotics. For sure. And how this all relates to team culture. Team culture is the single most important thing about a team. It's really what makes or breaks teams. I was very fortunate to be on a team that has a really fantastic culture, but unfortunately that's not the case universally. I know a lot of people in college, current like students along with me and like and stuff like that. And I know some of them who just don't do robotics anymore. They just stopped because their team culture was so toxic that they just like they drained all the fun out of their team. And it's been really tragic. And I've like talked extensively with some people. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, why was your like team culture so bad? And like sometimes it just been like it's things like, oh, the mentors didn't really respect the students, or like was a girl, I was a woman on the team, and I felt like I was just myself because everyone else was a male, and I just felt very disrespected against. And that's never good to hear. Like that breaks my heart when I hear that. And I was trying to like tell my like classmates, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry that you had this experience. It's not like the case universally. And yeah, so like that's always a thing that everyone should be really conscious of. Even if you already have a great team culture, it's just great to keep reinforcing having a good team culture, keep reflecting every so often, and just like asking for feedback. Like that's super important, sometimes overlooked. Asking for feedback from other mentors, from other students. What do you think of the culture on the team? What don't you like? Maybe if they're and like oftentimes like it happens like during the build season, especially that everyone loves robotics so much. So like passions kind of like conflict, or like, oh, like one person thinks they should build the robot this way, and the other person doesn't think that. So then there's like clashing interests. But it's important to just overall at the end of the day take a step back and just make it a part of your team culture to like resolve conflicts. That we're all in this together. We all care about robotics, and just like really enforcing that, so that no one has a negative experience in robotics. Because it's really unfortunate when that happens, but we all have to do our part to create this positive team culture where everyone is respected. So yeah, and like the three key elements too to having a good culture are curiosity, passion, empathy. We kind of already mentioned passion already at the beginning with like finding your why, finding your purpose, finding why you really are passionate, why you really love robotics. Curiosity, being open-minded, open to learning. Students learn from mentors just as much as mentors learn from students. My students teach me things every day, like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. Like I forgot like being a student. Like I never thought about this when I was a student. So curiosity is really key for everyone. And empathy, having that like respect for everyone, understanding everyone, being there for everyone. Teams aren't just teams. I always think teams are families. So having if your team culture feels like a family, you're on the right track. That is a good culture you want to be in, because that way everyone feels like they're a part of the team, feels like they belong, feels like they can trust anyone and everyone else on the team for anything they have, any problems they have, any issues. And just yeah, so that team culture, number one thing to focus on for creating an engaging and like motivating place for both students and mentors. Um, so yeah, and then going more into depth of like how to foster that team culture. Emphasizing purpose on a daily basis, on a daily level. So once again, using the exercise we just did to pinpoint the why of the team. A lot of teams have missions, and that's absolutely wonderful. I think that teams need to emphasize their mission more, not just like on brochures that they hand to sponsors and to judges, but in their shop. So you could have like a little poster of your mission in your shop, and just like and that way everyone can look at it every day and just remember the mission, to inspire others to pursue science and engineering, to use science and engineering to solve problems. Like that's really the purpose. And just remembering that, and reinforcing that every day or like every week or so. It's just good to keep in mind, because sometimes when things get tough, when problems arise, it's it's easy to forget the purpose, the overarching goal. Just having that as a reminder is really key. And yeah, it motivates people to just keep chugging along, keep working through the problems, and be successful at the end as a result of that. And yeah, just as I mentioned already, just it's really important. Everyone should feel valued, and personal wellness should be respected. Especially, this is such a tough time for everyone. COVID has upended our lives in so many ways. So just having that empathy, where everyone understands each other, like that's the most important thing that we can work on right now. So more practical steps on like how to actually foster team culture. So once again, like I mentioned in the beginning, allow like students and mentors to have autonomy. That's really key. It empowers people to do what they want, and it makes them feel like they have a voice, and that's super important to motivate them, to engage them. So just asking students, what do you want to work on today? Or if like students maybe are like interested in like both mechanical and programming, don't just like let students go into only one like sub team. Like tell them like it's okay to switch roles on the team if they would like, and to like learn different avenues, and really just like giving them the option to work on what they really want to. And even mentors, like if mentors have like an expertise in like more than one area, like mentors can like switch around to Generally it is like one mentor per sub team, and that should be the way. But like if people ever get sick of like being on like the one sub team, like it's okay to switch is the thing. It's okay to give people that autonomy to do what they are good at and what they are interested in, for sure. And yeah, just another way to is opportunities to lead projects and explore. So once again, just like trusting people with responsibility, trusting students with responsibility to like maybe lead a prototyping like group, lead a design group, lead something, or work on a project besides the robot. And especially that's really key like this year because the majority of the like tasks are going to be projects more so than like building a robot. So yeah, just ways to get people involved and to get people feeling like they have ownership over the project, ownership over a specific area of the team. For students and for mentors, yeah, if getting mentors also empowered to feel like, oh, like they're helping students achieve this. It yeah, just making people feel valued overall is the key point to note there. And yeah, so the rest of this presentation is just going to continue talking about fostering team culture in multiple avenues, multiple areas. So yes, this is another exercise to do with your team. You probably want to do the long version of this during your team meetings versus the purpose exercise. It could be, yeah, once again, longer, either long or short version, but this one you probably want to go through the whole thing with your team. So goal setting is really important to empower people to learn and grow. And this is something that you should do every year, maybe like dedicate a meeting to it after build season. We normally do it after build season, or it could be like before build season, whenever. But yeah, it's important to set goals. So goals should take place in multiple like forms. So there should be team goals and individual goals. So maybe some team goals, it could be, and I would love to hear your goals that you have in the chat, if you would like to share. So for instance, for the Fun Gang 7869 that I mentor, a team goal would be to get more mentors because right now the two head mentors are both college students and there are a lot of professionals in the area. So a team goal is to just reach out to those professionals, reach out to more sponsors so that we can get more mentors on the team to help the students, so that we're not like spread thin on mentors. And individual goals, so what you want to do, what students want to get out of the team, what mentors want to get out of the team. Just setting those goals is really key. Basically lets you see where you want see your trajectory and see where you want to go. And that's really key to teams. On that note, short-term goals and long-term goals. So for team goals, short-term goals could be like, oh, what do we want to do by the end of the season? Or what do we want to accomplish by the end of this meeting? And long-term is, okay, in like 2, 3, 5 years time, where do we want the team to be? It can be like in terms of like competition and performance, community outreach, especially to like how many people we want on the team, if we want to grow the team and stuff like that. And same thing with individual, what you want to do like after a season or what you want to do in the long term after participating in robotics. And of course, SMART goals. We all love SMART goals. They're great. Use them. Specific, measurable, actionable, results oriented, and time bound. Just ways to keep track of your goals. And yeah, so this exercise should hopefully like be done on a team. Set everyone should be involved with the team goals, and then after like discussing team goals, everyone can go into breakout rooms or just like individually on their own write out their personal goals. Yeah, same thing, like both short term, long term, and stuff like that. And then you can share at the end if you want for like individual goals, just like see where everyone's at, see what they're doing, see what they want to get out of robotics. And just doing that really empowers people to see the long-term benefits of robotics and motivates them to achieve those goals, for sure. And finally, probably the most important thing on the slide is to always adapt your goals in real time. Sometimes like people just like set goals and just like leave them to the side and no one ever looks at them again. Don't do that. That's bad. There's like no point to setting goals at that point if you're just gonna not look at them ever again. And goals can be adapted. Like even during a build season, like a normal build season, like, oh, we wanted to finish the cat today, but we didn't. Oops, because we didn't see we didn't see that this issue was going to pop up. How can we change that so that we have to adapt our goals? So like, okay, so we're not going to finish the cat today, but maybe in 2 days time we will finish the cat. And just like figuring out ways like that. So yeah, and this should also just be the case too for team goals, for individual goals. Always and like for team goals, it's honestly good to just like same thing, just put a poster up on your shop and like see the team goals like win championships or so. I don't know, it's a ridiculous goal. Not ridiculous though, possible. Your teams can do it. Every team can do it. Or like go to championships. Yeah. So all goals should, or like the team goals should definitely be put next to the team mission on some poster on the shop. And it's just a good mechanism to motivate people to strive and achieve those goals. Because it's really rewarding. It's really nice when you do achieve goals. So really important to have, for sure. And okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit more about types of engagement. So I'm really glad for the people who can meet in person. Just be safe, of course. I'm sure like everyone's following COVID restrictions, and that's really great. So in that case, yeah, just like normal tips for in-person engagement. Just let students work on projects right away. Don't like teaching them is very important, but teach them while they work, or just let them have that motivation like right away. So instead of like, oh, you need like 5 sessions before you even touch your robot. Like, no. Just like everyone can like use a wrench. So like, oh, use this drill. Like, oh, you don't know how to use a drill? Hey, let me like show you. Like mentors can just show students right away to like use this drill, like a piece of wood or something. And then you can see like, oh wow, like I did this. Or like, oh, we have this loose screw on the robot. Let's turn this wrench to fix the screw. Or oh, let's wire the robot. Let's cut this wire program. This is especially good for new students, because if you get new students involved right away, you get them coming back, and that's what you want at the end of the day, is engaging and motivating people to come back to stick with robotics in the long haul. So make them feel like they're making an impact right from day one. And then there's always going to be time to teach the students, to mentor them after the first day, basically. Yeah. Once again, like more focus on like new students, just introduce them to the mentors and the veteran students, and have them like give them a tour around the workshop, because it really gets them to see like, oh wow, like this is such a big thing, and I want to be a part of it. And just like talking to mentors, talking to veteran students, it's really great to just like hear those stories. So yeah, besides just working on projects, like that's the cool thing about in-person engagement, that like unfortunately for teams that are only virtual, we kind of like lose out on, or have to like foster more in depth nowadays, because you don't really have those natural conversations that just pop up in the shop, where mentors talk about their days at their jobs to the students, and the students get to hear what it's like to be a real engineer, and mentors get to like hear about how the school day's been going, hear about things like that, and really even just funny stories from like years past. Like I remember so many funny stories of like, oh no, like someone forgot the bill of materials, and they were like passing security at championships, and someone's like, oh no, I forgot the bomb, and it's like, but this is security, don't say bomb at security. So there's like funny stories like that. It's just a great way to like get people involved, get people engaged with the team, and yeah, just really feel like they're a part of a community. And once you feel like you're a part of a community, it's you really do retain students that way, and feel like make them feel empowered and motivated to continue on with the team. Yeah, so definitely do that in person. But unfortunately this year, if you're not in person, we'd have to focus on that more in terms of virtual engagement. So in virtual engagement, it's really key to just emphasize interaction and participation. Zoom fatigue is definitely real, but and like, yeah, so like, but do encourage members to like turn on their cameras and microphones if they are able to, if their Wi-Fi can allow for it, just to like see people, talk to them, use the chat function, stuff like that. If you're a very large team, use a breakout room. My team that I mentor is it's pretty small. It's around like 16 or so students. So we just used one large room. We don't use breakout rooms just because like there's enough of a, or like once we focus on the projects more, like during the build season, we might start using breakout rooms just to like focus on like different aspects of like the projects. But for the meantime, it's just been like one large Zoom room. But yeah, but if you do have like a larger team, or even like a mid-sized team too, just like utilize breakout rooms. It's just great to like get to know people. Start off meetings, not just like, don't just jump into the technical parts or like the robotics parts of the meetings. Just like start off like, hey everyone, how's everyone's days going? Just like basically just starting a conversation, getting to know other people. Or you can even have like fun icebreaker questions like, oh, if you were a vegetable, what kind of a vegetable would you be? Or if you were a form of water, like a cloud or a river, what kind of water would you be? And just like fun things like that, just to get people talking about and get people like engaged virtually, because you don't have those like natural conversations like that you do in person. Yeah, one silver lining though I will mention, and with terms of virtual engagement, is I want to say there's like a little bit more learning, like more of an emphasis on learning. Not that there's not learning in person, like that's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that sometimes in person there's so much to do that you don't have time to focus on like why we do the things we do. So like for instance, maybe like machining, how to use a CNC, how to use like a 3D printer. Like you learn like, okay, like I'll make this thing on CAD, I'll print it, I'll just change it to like an STL format, whatever, send it to the 3D printer. But maybe in terms of like virtual learning, it could be like, oh, like how does the 3D printer know how to print the parts? So you can actually go into the theory of the 3D printer. Or for instance, like if there's like for this year like a shooter, sometimes it just tends to be like mentors that like focus on like making like the calculations to determine the shooter angle, or there's like there's programs that are made that you just like input a number and then the program just like spits out the angle and stuff like that. So during virtual format you can actually go more into the theory, more into the why we do what we do. So okay, so let's calculate the shooter angle. We didn't have time during the build season to go and walk through each student with, okay, here's the physics behind the shooter angle. And so that we can use virtual engagement as a way to do that now. And like, okay, here's how to calculate a shooter angle. Or like things that normally teams don't have time to during the build season, we can work on this year. So like vision tracking, stuff like that. That's generally for more advanced teams. Like any team could honestly work on that this year, and any mentor can help out with that, because now there's just more time for students to engage in like higher level projects that just normally get put on the backside during a build season. But now there's just more time to work on that, and that's really cool, I think. Even like with my team, we were telling them about how batteries work, because normally we don't actually get into like the actual like theory behind batteries, but we were telling them like, oh, okay, so you actually have like chemical batteries, and here's like um the salt bridge that like how like the cations and anions like switch between the batteries, and how like you recharge a battery and what the chemistry actually looks like. So just talking about more stuff like that sometimes we just don't have time to in person is a good like thing to virtual engagement. And yeah, and even for people like in person too, like these are all things you can also just like talk about in person. Now there's going to be a little more time since the robot is basically built from last year's robot, so there's going to be more time to go more into the technical parts of robotics, which is kind of cool. I'm actually excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, the good thing is that there's a lot of programs out there that you can just do virtually. Onshape, blessing that now everyone can just use CAD from their internet. Tinkercad is good, especially for electrical components. So you can actually run simulations if people haven't used Tinkercad before. Run electronic simulations on their yeah, computers and stuff like that. And just programming, like that's the good thing about programming, is that you can just work on your computer. You can still have peer programming and stuff like that, have a mentor just or have a student share their screen for the code. The mentor can just help them out with programming and stuff like that. Like it is possible to still do virtually. So that is just a way to just get people involved, get students to work on these programs, teach students more one-on-one. And yeah, and the final thing, if your team has a budget for it, it'd be kind of cool to like send students and mentors fun kits. For my team, preparing to like send them like a fun little like kit with just like in addition to like team t-shirts, if you're not meeting at all in person, like team t-shirts, like candy, hot chocolate, just fun things like that just gets them like, oh, like this is a little care package. It's really cute. So yeah, just ways to engage with people that way. Another thing that's kind of cool, I think more teams should do it if teams don't do it already, is like team appreciation. It's really great to shout out students and mentors, and it really makes everyone feel like they're valued on team. So it could be like at the end of each meeting, just really quickly, it's like, hey, shout out time. Who wants to give a shout out for the meeting today? And a student can be like, hey, I want to thank Mentor Smith for teaching me about programming today. I didn't know about like this programming concept, but Mentor Smith really helped me with programming. Or like for mentors, like shouting out students, like I want to give a shout out to Elizabeth because she did an excellent job with catting the shooter today. And it just, yeah, just going around the room and shouting out like each student, each mentor is really great to see how everyone's contributing to the team. So yeah, this could just occur like at the end of meetings each day, like in person or virtually, of course, or weekly, like the longer session, just like shouting everyone out. And yeah, just a classic like end of the year banquet ceremony, like little everyone feels like a little thank you. Everyone feels that they've accomplished a lot. This is great to like meet up, and like yeah, this year's probably going to be virtual, but yeah, either virtual or in person. It is good to foster appreciation, team appreciation, and really emphasize that a lot. Another thing is one-on-one meetings. So mentors should meet with each student individually, especially this year, because it's not going to be as collaborative as years past, just because we do have the COVID situation. But even in general, like even back to when things go back to normal, it's just great to just like meet on one-on-one. So mentors generally could like group students up by like sub team, and then just like so if there's a big team, like one mentor doesn't have to meet with like every single student, but like each mentor gets assigned like a list of students that they just meet with periodically throughout the season. It's just a great time to just like talk about robotics, talk about the students' particular goals and aspirations, and like just talk about like real world examples of engineering. So if the student has any questions on like what the mentor's job is like, that'd be great to just like share. So yeah. And yeah, just like pairings for students. So random lunch pairings. So students can just like get paired to meet with each other over like a lunch or a snack, and you can just incentivize them to meet. Maybe you can like offer a prize at the end for students who like meet as much like over lunch if they're in person or over a Zoom meeting or something. So yeah, things like that. Some other sample activities for remote, just watching past matches, especially for students who have never who are new who have never been to a competition before. Yeah, working on, of course, like the competition projects, but also just like long-term projects, like you can build a website, you can build a scouting app. Maybe you want to do an inventory of all the materials in the shop or pit design. Developing training for new students, stuff like that. It'd just be a great year to work on things like that, as well as just community outreach during the season. So mentoring teams, giving demos to sponsors, running workshops for like local Boy and Girl Scouts and stuff like that. There's a lot of things we can get involved with. Another thing is mandatory fun. My team does this a lot. Just like fun events that are like mandatory, so everyone just gets to meet each other outside of robotics. Among Us is like all the rave. That's a game. It's really fun to play. Mentors should totally play with the students and just be like a great way to just like meet each other, get to know each other outside of robotics. Other virtual games like Minecraft, virtual board games are always an option. And then like once COVID ends, just the classic like going to movies, going bowling, visiting museums, just like fun things like that. And the final thing is this that's kind of cool this year is you can reach out to other teams and make friends with them. Since we're all meeting in Zoom, you can honestly just like reach out to like any team around the world, around the United States, and just like see, hey, we would love to meet with you guys. Maybe we can have like a 1 hour like social or mixer, just get to know each other. And this would be cool for both mentors and students. Because like mentors can like talk to other mentors and hear what other teams are doing, and students can get to know students from around the country. And yeah, it'd be good, and make sure just like talk about and like figure out what to talk about during the mixer or like beforehand. And yeah, we can the different options like splitting people into breakout rooms or like switching people so they get to know more people. But it's a cool option to keep people engaged and like get to know people from other teams too. So yeah, thank you so much. This is a lot, but hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully all of your teams can keep engaged over COVID and beyond. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic presentation. Just a reminder to everyone, this will be posted on the YouTube channel next week. So if some of the activities were really fast, don't worry, you'll be able to catch them again. For anyone who has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat right now. We would love to hear them. And so I will just be monitoring the chat for any questions. Miriam, if any come to you directly, just feel free to say them out loud.
Sounds good.
Miriam, I know that you mentioned in the presentation that you could connect with other teams. Is that something that you've done this year at all?
Not yet with my team. Or not with my team. Like I also mentor teams virtually because we have this program through my college through First at Yale, our alumni organization, where we just like mentor teams virtually, like one-off mentors. Like I've also been like mentoring a FTC all girls robotics team virtually this semester. So I've been able to reach out, but like we haven't had too many meetings yet with my team just because it's like still early on and we normally only meet during like the build season. But like during the build season, I am planning on like having my team meet with like some of the other teams that I know and I've reached out to. So yeah, I'll reach out to their mentors, to like their team email, and just like send like, hey, I would love for like my team to get to know your team. I think it would be really great. For sure.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
hmm how much are teams meeting? Like how many days per week or how long have teams been meeting for this semester for mentors out there or students?
So it looks like someone responded to your question and said once or less per month with a sad face. That is
Gotcha.
sad.
I feel that, yeah.
There is one question out there. So have you had any experience in giving sample programming exercises to any students who think they might want to try programming, or using the programming language that is the robot that the robot is programmed with?
Yeah. So for programming exercises, there's a lot of like tutorials out there on the internet that honestly are just like really useful. Also, if mentors like don't have that much time to like prepare a whole curriculum, because like it's a lot to prepare like a whole curriculum, just use like the free exercises out there. My team has used an hour of code, I believe, is the website. The other head mentor is the one who mainly focuses on the programming exercises. But yeah, just like having the students walk through curriculum like that, or like trainings like that. Even for like Onshape and like Tinkercad, like there's also like their own like trainings for how to use the software. So like have students walk through that, and then generally in person or like virtually, it's just more of like exercises and going through like the robot code from like previous years. And yeah, so I definitely just recommend for starting students off with programming, having them walk through like tutorials, and then just having in-person meetings be about questions about the different like coding language, questions that the students have, and then mentors can just walk through the robot programs from or like previous years, the robot code, and just explaining what each part does in the robot. So yeah, just having that intersection between self-paced learning and collaborative learning is good, I think, for programming. Okay, so there's another comment. They've been meeting for conversations twice a week for about 35 minutes after schools. They're a rookie team and there's not a lot of equipment yet, so they're trying to introduce them to FIRST. Watching a lot of videos of week 1 and week 2 from 2020, and yeah, I feel like making an every bot with a 1.5 technical mentors. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's kind of where my team was at last year because they were a second year team. So we basically just made an every bot last year. And you saw the picture at the beginning. That worked really well for the team. Highly recommend just every bot for any like rookie team or like team just starting off. Because that way just everyone gets to really learn about robotics even without much equipment. I'm also giving a presentation right after this about fundraising. So for not having equipment, I'll talk more about fundraising then, because same thing, like my team was working out of a high school classroom, so we didn't really have a shop even. We were thankful that another team in the area does have a shop. So every Saturday we would actually go to their shop and use their shop. Like they're really nice that they let us use their shop. So if you just don't have any equipment, like there's a lot of FRC teams in Wisconsin, just like find someone nearby who does have a shop. And I believe MSOE also has like a really nice robotics center for all teams. So if you just don't have equipment, just go there. A lot of people are willing to help, and I realized that last year with my team. And yeah, exactly. Making connections is super key. That's how my team was able to build the robot last year, was through another team, and it's really great. And yeah, so it's great that you're already meeting with people, getting them involved with robotics. Hopefully during the build season, just keep those connections, get a build like a little every bot. And yeah, so exciting.
Looks like we have about 2 minutes left. So if you have any last questions, now would be the time to put them in the chat. We'll keep looking for them throughout this, but otherwise, you're also welcome to hit the blue button at the end of at the bottom of the screen. Wow, sorry. That says leave room if you are done asking questions. So up to you.
Also, feel free to send me an email with any questions you have, any comments. I would love to hear from you. Yeah, feel free to just send me anything over email.
All right, it looks like we have coming to the end of our session. So you can either wait for the session to automatically close in about 40 seconds, or you can hit the blue button saying leave breakout room. But once again, Miriam did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for presenting.
Of course.